1 o'clock, folks.
We're on a schedule. Good afternoon. The Beaufort County Board of Voter Registration and Elections Board meeting for December 9th, 2024 has now been called to order. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Here. Public comments. If we have anyone for public comments, you have 5 minutes. Please state your name. All right. We have no public comments for this meeting. Now I will ask for an amendment to the agenda, and I would like to say that this amendment is because we are going to swear in one of our new board members. So can I get a motion?
Yeah, I'll make a motion.
Second. Okay, it's been properly moved and second that the agenda be amended in order to swear in our new board member. Wendell, would you come forward? And Mr. Michael Swicky. Thank you, Wiki, thank you. And after the swearing in, you can come and take a seat at either end, all right?
Okay.
I think she got his name right here.
Oh, you got his name there? Thank
Oh.
you, all right, okay.
Okay, Mr. Sawicki, the oath of office for the appointment of Michael Sawicki to the Board of Voter Registration and Elections of Beaufort County. By direction of South Carolina Governor Henry McMaster on October 31st, 2024, Michael E. Sawicki is appointed to the Board of Voter Registration and Elections of Beaufort County. Mr. Sawicki acknowledges his appointment and accepts the responsibilities associated with it by taking the following oath as prescribed by the South Carolina Code of Laws 7-13-7. Please repeat after me. I, Michael E. Sawicki,
I, Michael E. Sawicki,
do solemnly swear or affirm
do solemnly swear or affirm
that I am duly qualified,
that I am duly qualified,
according to the Constitution of this state,
according to the Constitution of this state,
to exercise the duties of the office
to exercise the duties of this office
to which I have been appointed,
to which I have been appointed,
and that I will,
and that I will,
to the best of my ability,
to the best of my ability,
discharge the duties thereof,
discharge the duties thereof,
and preserve,
and preserve,
protect,
protect,
and defend the Constitution of this state
and defend the Constitution of this state
and of the United States,
and of the United States,
so help me God.
so help me God.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
All right. Okay. Welcome aboard. We have a new board member that is coming with some experience about the election process. All right. Mr. Sawicki.
Sawicki.
All right.
Whatever.
I don't like,
I didn't call a lot worse. So.
yeah, I don't like messing up people's names, though. Would you like to present yourself to the board at this time before we go into our minutes, please?
As far as what?
Just present yourself to the board members so they'll know who you are.
Well, obviously my name is Michael Sawicki, and I'm really happy and proud to be here to work towards helping the election process and gaining information and also giving some information, which I have experience, obviously working a lot of hours with these people who do a great job.
Thank you. Don Cooper, you want to introduce yourself too?
Yes, ma'am. Don Cooper, starting my second term in the coming year. And I have to say that this first opportunity has been a real eye-opener in the process. And the amount of work that your staff, the staff does is absolutely amazing.
Thank you. Mr. Backer.
Jim Backer, and I was appointed in May of '23, and for me, it's been a great learning experience to really understands kind of behind, all the behind-the-scenes activity that has to go on to execute a successful, efficient, and fair election, and look forward to the next year of continuous improvement of our processes and policies.
Thank you. Liz?
Hi, I'm Liz Johnson, and you just basically said everything I was going to say. I was also appointed in May, and will hopefully start a new term in the next year. And it has been a substantial learning curve, and hopefully you can bring the what you've learned to the future in order to be an effective board member.
Matt?
I'm Matt Sweeney. I was also appointed in May of 2023, and it's been fascinating this year to participate in the largest turnout election in Beaufort County history, and also see the staff and the board member team manage a 30% increase in the number of precincts in Beaufort County in 2024. So looking forward to a good 2025.
Beverly?
My name is Beverly Dorr, and I have been reappointed and reappointed, thanks to the legislative delegation. And I am chair of the reapportionment reprecincting committee. And I do seek new ideas, and you're joining this very interesting and dynamic committee. Welcome aboard.
Mr. Ford?
Herbert Ford, I am also a product of the class of May. May of 23. Let me say that this is an extremely good board. I've had the pleasure of serving on several boards here in the Beaufort County area, and I can say that this is a board that I'm proud to be a member of. I think you will find the work that we do as being extremely productive, extremely important, and I think we serve a very vital role in making sure the democratic process works properly. I have a 50-year background in the public sector, and this term on this board has been instrumental in making sure those years that I've served my nation. So proud to be able to be a part of this board. So we welcome you aboard. I'm looking forward to working very closely with you. The precincts that I'm responsible are north of Broad, and I believe you'll be working north of Broad as well. So we'll be working very closely together. Welcome aboard.
Great, thank you.
And I am Aline Mitchell, and I joined the board in 1999. And I am proud to say that I've seen so much growth. We have done a lot of great things in Beaufort County, and I am, along with the rest of you, I know that you are very proud of what we do. I would go as far as to say that we could be a model for other counties, because we are a working board. We are really working. This is the first board I've ever been on. I've been on a lot where we actually work and not just be out there saying do this and do that. We are actually working by being out there in the community with our poll workers, clerk, and our voters. I am excited to have you come aboard and bringing some knowledge, and hopefully you will join one of the boards that we have, and you'll get some information so you'll know exactly what that board does. It's not good to get on a board and not knowing exactly what the role is. So we're gonna make sure that that doesn't happen. You will choose what board you would like to be on. And you can always come to us and get information. We have a great staff, and they've been working very diligently. And like I said, like Matt said too, this was one of the biggest election that we have ever held in Beaufort County, and I believe that we did a very, very good job. A lot of hours was put in, but we survived, and we're looking forward to a new fruitful year with everyone's help. All right? Yes, Wendell?
Madam Chairman, if I may, he was being very unsolicited because Mr. Swicky has been a clerk, poll manager and a clerk for several years with Beaufort County. He, and I can honestly say this, he is one of our best,
Yeah.
has been one of our best. He has been over at the Beaufort 1, 2, 3 set of precincts, and he also is one of the lead clerks during early voting in our early voting center in the office. So we see him, we've worked with him very closely for several years, and I think the staff cannot be happier that he is a member of the board, bringing his experience and knowledge of the process already to the rest of the board. So once again, we're just welcoming you as well. Thank you again.
Thank you.
All right, okay. All right, now we will go to our minutes from the meetings we had before. We are going to skip September the 19th board meeting and also the November 8th board meeting. Those two, we will have those in January as we need more information before we go to approve it. We want to make sure that everything is attached to the minutes in case we have a question and someone want to know who attended those meetings. We can go back and say who was there at the canvas hearing meeting. So we will skip those two. So I will ask for a motion to accept the October 23rd, 2024 board meeting.
I'd like to make a motion to accept with a change.
Okay.
And that change is the addition of Director Small's report. Should be attached to the meeting notes, as it has been in the past.
Okay.
Director's report,
We do have it.
it's on the second page after new business.
Oh,
I
Were there
just
not some,
commenced.
were there not some slides, a presentation deck?
So you want the whole presentation deck?
That's what we've typically done, I
Okay,
believe.
we can change that.
Okay.
Madam Chair, with the changes and modifications, I move that we accept
Accept.
these minutes.
Okay. All right. Was that your second?
That's the second.
Yes.
Okay, all right, it's been properly moved and second that we accept the minutes with the changes and modification. Can I have everyone is in agreement? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Now, we will go to committee reports, if any. The committee reports are not listed on here, but does anyone have a committee report? I'm gonna start to my left with Mr. Backer.
No report, Madam Chair.
Okay, all right.
No report for the Rules Committee?
Okay, may I ask a
Yeah.
question of the Finance Committee Chair? And that question's about the budgeting process for 2025, 2026. And whether, number one, whether that process has started, and number two, whether there have been any considerations for the addition of headcount to support poll worker management. I just want to remind everybody that in January of this year, 2024, the responsibility of coordinating poll workers was transferred from the board members to the staff. And if you look at the 9 board members, they were putting in at least 2 full-time equivalents of work into managing poll workers. Those 2 FTEs worth of work were transferred to staff, which was already at 100% capacity. So it's my opinion that we need to add a staff or some resources to help manage poll workers in 2025 and going forward.
I don't currently have the budget schedule for the year. I know it's in progress though, based on last year's timing. So the capital budget portion comes first, and that is moving forward. Wendell, I don't know if you have any significant items that you're submitting in the capital budget. We have not had the opportunity to discuss.
I'll definitely get into those during the deputy's report.
Okay.
It's in the deputy's report. As far as the budgeting process, they just picked up a new financial officer, and they have not given us, the staff, the specific schedule for it. We do know that January, they're probably gonna put it on us, and at that point, we will go ahead and get started, because we normally doing it right before we go to scare. So, as soon as that process gets started, we will notify Mr. Backer and pull him in, and we'll go ahead and get started with everything. So as our understanding, and I don't know whether that came under new business or whatever, that the board is suggesting the hiring of another staff member to help with the poll worker situation.
We put that on the
I
new business.
just didn't recall
New
the board,
business.
adopting us. I know that it's very necessary, but I just don't recall a formal process by why the board, made the motion and adopted the hiring.
Yeah, and I don't think I intended to suggest we add a full-time staff for this. The request was to have staff add the resources that are needed to absorb that 2 full-time equivalent worth of work into their 25-26 budget. How it's done, whether it's hiring a full-timer, a part-timer, or just reallocating work, I don't think we want to dictate that. I just want to make sure that the resources are there for the staff to absorb that additional work.
So wouldn't that fall under the
That-
finance committee should be getting with the other committee folks and discuss that? And then that should then go to Marie, am I correct? In order to get into the budget?
Madam
It depends
Chair,
on what, like you said, depends on what that process or what that action would be. What is the action that will be taken to do that? And that's where it would be, dependent on what comes out of the finance as far as getting the resources to do that. I can't sit here and say, when he was saying it, I was thinking he's talking about adding another staff member to help out with that.
That's what-
I don't know if there's another way that can be done, but that's just something that, until we can get into that discussion, we don't know. But no matter how you do it, the resources would come through in doing our budgeting process.
Right, okay.
Madam Chair, I don't think we can include a line item to do this unless the board first discusses and adopts the notion that, we do need another person. And it appears to me that this would come under new business, that we would, should it not come under new business?
And I still believe that it should go to the finance, because that's why we have a finance committee. Finance committee
Can
will
a
discuss
finance
it.
committee put
discuss it.
something in the finance, in the budget before the board says that this is a position
No.
that we need? That's just my, protocol that, now, I may very well be wrong.
If I understand the process correctly, a lot of the budget is fixed currently. It's fixed through the salaries, benefits, everything. A large portion of the budget, you could essentially consider them as fixed costs. But the process to develop the budget for the next fiscal year, it's a staff function to develop the budget. And that will be done hopefully with the finance committee. And we'll discuss, the staff will bring together their requests and justification for any, significant additions to the budget, including personnel. And then we'll review it, and then we can bring it to the board as far as a recommendation from the finance committee.
Right.
But, it really has to flow up from the staff.
Okay,
I would think that the staff would have to make that request, and I have not heard that verbalized from the staff.
okay. All right,
Ad hoc committee, a couple of points. First, I think that the ad hoc committee can be wrapped up in the first quarter of next year after we complete an analysis of the 2024 election with the actual equipment allocations and the equipment open and close times. So once we get that report, we can do a final analysis, and I think we'll be done. Just a brief review, though, of the 2024 general election. The overall turnout in Beaufort County was 75.2%, which is almost spot on the 75% that the ad hoc committee had forecasted. And just a note, statewide turnout was 77%. So that put Beaufort at number 31 out of 46 precincts in terms of turnout. That's unusual. We're generally in the top quartile, top 25%. So it's unusual that we were now in the bottom half. So early Early voting, as you all know, was extremely popular, and the ad hoc committee's forecast of 36% early voting and 60% election day voting was inverted. It was actually 60% of all ballots cast during early voting and only 34% cast on election day. Absentee ballots were at 6% of total ballots cast, compared to the 4% forecasted by the ad hoc committee. The ad hoc committee used a turnout index, and based on a preliminary review of that, the turnout index was within 10% correct. So the forecasted turnout index was within 10% of the actual. So it turns out that is a good tool that can be used for future turnout calculations. And then I'd like to commend staff on handling the early voting turnout. In 2022, Beaufort County had 27,000 ballots cast in early voting. 2024, we had 63,000. So that's 2.3 times more ballots cast during early voting. And it's almost twice what we had expected for this year. So I think it's well done. So congratulations to the staff for that. I'd also like to recognize the poll workers who remained flexible and were willing to work long hours during the early voting period, and also some appreciation to the voters, many of whom waited up to 2 hours to vote during early voting, and from my perspective, there were very few complaints about that. So thank you to the voters. So that's all I have from ad hoc.
Thank you. Ms. Beverly?
I have no report at this
Okay,
time.
all right, thank you. Mr. Ford?
No report.
Okay. Aline Mitchell don't have a report. I'm just gonna no, I'll wait till later. All right. Approval of 2025 board meeting dates. That's under new business. Do we have a calendar?
Yes, it's in the calendar.
Oh, okay, I'm looking.
I make a motion to accept the proposed 2025 board meeting dates.
Can I get a second?
Second.
Okay, it's been properly moved and second that we accept the 2025 proposed board meeting. All in favor?
Aye?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay, Deputy Director's Report.
Short and sweet, just some basic information, a couple of things we're gonna talk about. And where's my little? We do have one slide that just gives some overview about the election turnout. Also, we're gonna talk about the capital improvement information for 2026, and there's an update on SCARE. Here's a basic, this is our information that we have from our Express Vote program, that all of the precincts had the little check-in, the check-in thing. This gives us our basic information for early voting and on election day, as well as the total election turnout. To look at those numbers for all of our sites. Okay, for Bluffton, 23,650, St. Helena, 8,642, USCB Hilton Head, 16,545, and at the main office, 14,406. That is just early voting alone. Just a little aside, the state expected us to do this with 5 people at each site. That's all they're gonna reimburse us for. But I want to commend all of our poll workers and the staff members who man all those sites. That was, you can see the amount of work that went into what they did during those 12 days. And like Mr. Sweeney said, we had a few, but very, very few complaints about the processes at all of the different places. Everybody stood in line, but their mindset and their mentality was very positive about the entire process. So that goes to our staff and our workers and the kind of work that they put in, the kind of time that they put in at those sites. We had over 100 some odd workers actually work during early voting. So I think a lot of the directors around the state are kind of, we're going to keep on pushing the state to be a little bit more realistic about early voting when it comes down to what happens with the staffing on early voting. You cannot do it with 5 people. Common sense. The other thing that this helps us with, and Mr. Sweeney, you might want to start working on this, where we were struggling to try to get that exemption for more than one location more than one precinct at a location. Early voting is the prime example. So it's something that you can use as fodder to help forward that cause when we're struggling to find a place to split up. Early voting, you're talking about every precinct is at an early voting site technically. And even with you're not gonna have those lines necessarily at a smaller precinct like Beaufort 1, 2, 3 or Plantation House. But as far as the exemption opportunities, all you have to do is point to early voting and look at what we accomplished during early voting. More people voted during early voting than voted on election day. So just something to keep in mind, something to use in the future for information. CIP request, yes, ma'am.
At your Bluffton Rec Center for early voting, was there the perception that maybe an expansion of that particular complex was needed since they had a very high percentage of early voters? Was there the feeling that it was just overwhelming?
Making it bigger?
I'm just asking, was there a feeling that it was just that they were overwhelmed or that they were having just?
We got no sense of that from any voter.
Oh, okay.
No response in any, that was never, no, we got nothing along those lines at all.
I see they had far more than any other
Right,
early
but we
voters.
never got a, even, I talked to somebody from USCB on yesterday, and they were just absolutely overwhelmed at what they saw, but they was like, wow, but it went so smooth. This was the security at USCB, they talked to me on yesterday, one of the, staff member at USCB, and he was talking about how the security was gonna go over there and take a look at how things were on the first day. And they were shocked at how many people were there, but they were also shocked at how smooth the whole process went. So, it's looking good.
That's great.
It looks very good, yes.
Wendell?
Yes, sir.
If we were to look at another location to supplement what we're doing at Alma Road, what exactly, from your perspective and from the board's perspective, you think we need to examine?
Well, the thing is, and Mr. Sweeney can speak to this as well, you don't want to, what's the word? That has been a site that has been working for years. You don't want
It works.
to double up at a place like that.
But we're
Because-
we're not talking about doubling up there, we're talking about maybe supplementing that facility with another location.
That's what I mean, doubling up in that area, because you give a perception that other places don't want.
23,000.
Yeah, if, to be honest with you, if we had heard anything along those lines, it would have been something we definitely would have looked at. But we heard nothing along those lines, nothing at all.
I know Madam Chair volunteered there, so maybe she has a statement regarding how smoothly it went.
Yes, it went smoothly. The only thing is the dirt when the poll workers had to move those cart out there.
We'll get to that.
Oh,
You'll
okay.
be very pleased. I'm excited, so.
Yes, because and I went out there to check it out, and it was very strenuous work because of the
Glad you
dirt.
brought that up.
But another thing too, not to get all the way off the subject, the lines were very, very long. And we did have a lot of elderly people that just didn't want to really do curbside, and we had so many curbside, they just wanted to come in. So maybe we could look at another location, not for 2026, but at least, no, is it 26? For the next general election, because the turnout that we had for this election, can you imagine what it's going to be like in 2028 with the impact of people that are moving into Bluffton? We will need maybe another location midway of where we are now to, for Okatee. Like when I look at Okatee and all of the buildings that are going out there, and they are in Beaufort County, so those folks will be voting when those new houses get finished.
Yeah,
They would have to drive a good distance.
In reference to what Mr. Cooper was saying, instead of supplementing, I think we would try to find probably a bigger place that's more generalized. For instance, we had been going to the government center in Hilton Head, and Mr. Sweeney said, hey, if we put it in the middle, then more people can come to it, and it'll be, a lot better for them to get there. So that section where we are right now is on one end of Bluffton, what is termed to be Bluffton now. What we would probably look at is finding something more towards the centralized part of Bluffton to have people come and vote. That was what we would look at versus doubling up two different early voting centers in that particular area.
23,000, that
Yeah.
was a very high proportion of voters in comparison to the other early voting centers,
Well, I know
just in my opinion.
during the 3 days that I worked as a greeter, I was impressed and somewhat dismayed by how many people said they drove up to John Galt from Bluffton because the lines there were so long, and they felt the overall time invested was less, even with the extra driving time. And I know there's a long lead time in trying to plan new facilities, but I think that we really very quickly, and I don't know if it's a job for the re-precincting committee, because it's not re-precincting, but we need to probably start looking at plans for expanding our early voting capacity.
We are, this year that's coming up, one of the projects that we start on or we take care of like spring through summer is our annual or biannual, what do you call it, Gene? Well, we go out and survey all of our sites for sustained compatibility of ADA and all that kind of stuff. At the same time, what we're doing while we're out is viewing other areas and looking at other places that could possibly be other polling locations and sites. So when we start that process, probably April on of next year, that's part of what we're going to be doing, looking, and we definitely do have to look in the Bluffton area to maybe finding a bigger place for that, if necessary.
And if
Thank you.
there's not a bigger place that's appropriate, then possibly adding an extra site, as Mr. Cooper said, somewhere sort of halfway between John Galt and Bluffton, with Okatee being the halfway point, and the amount of projected growth there, those people, no matter where they go, whether they come up here to John Galt or they go down to Bluffton, they have a long drive to do early voting. So, that might, don't ignore that as a possibility, rather than just try to find a more central location within Bluffton proper.
We'll look at all of that. We will look at all of that.
Wendell,
Yes, sir.
I have a request regarding this slide, since this is a public document. The data shown here, this 156,319 is your registered voter number.
This is the state's number that they give us on express vote for the purposes of doing early voting and for doing voting on election day. That's the number that they give us to use to work from. Now, that number changes back and forth, and I forget their drop dead date for when they develop that number. But that's the number that the state always gives us to work with on express vote.
Yeah, I guess my request is to revise this, because this 156,000 includes several types of inactive voters, which are not included in election night reporting. So the election night reporting total registered voters is 140,000 something. So I would request that this be revised to reflect the publicly available data on election night reporting.
We can adjust that.
Okay, thank you.
Can I just make one comment about early voting? Since I spent 2 weeks outside exclusively doing curbside and monitoring the lines, that I did not hear one complaint or anybody frustrated with standing in line the whole 2 weeks. What we did is that anybody that we saw had a handicap and we felt couldn't stay in line, we moved them up the front of the line, and everybody gave them a free pass to go up there. Nobody complained, and it really helped getting a lot of people that we knew would labored standing there to get them in and get them out in a hurry. And the only other thing I think that we could have used next time is some better parking signs. We had an awful time with parking because people were trying to go out the same way people were trying to come in, and it created a log jam sometime, and it was dangerous.
Any other questions on the, yes, ma'am?
I just wanted to mention that there will be an opportunity to outline some strengths, weaknesses, and things that we need to work on.
Okay.
All right. Okay, Wendell, you're still reporting?
Huh? I'm sorry?
Oh, you're not finished, are you?
On that slide,
Oh, okay.
yeah. If there are no more questions about that. Okay, now I want to move on to CIP requests. We had to have these in by the 15th of November, in the middle of everything else we were doing. And these are the ones that Marie and I came up with for next year, or 26 for them to be looking at to implement or at least get the process started. One was the alarm system, 15 John Galt. We actually don't have an alarm system in there. We do have cameras, I'm sorry, but everybody understands the security issues, but we do not have an alarm system for that building. So that's one of the things that we put on there. Security metal doors inside, placing the wooden doors that we have inside, for instance, to the early voting area, doors that access it, some of those doors are still wooden and easily breakable or break-throughable, so to speak. So we wanted to have all of those replaced with the heavy metal doors for security purposes as well inside the building itself. Also resurfacing the main warehouse floor. When that warehouse was built, whatever they put down as it hasn't been, it's what, like 5 years? How long? 5 years? 6 years? But whatever they used on the floor, it comes up and the equipment rolling over it and the staff walking over it. If you're back there for a long time, Vernon and Mike can show you their shoes over it. It's dust, some kind of dust that rises up from whatever that is. And we don't even know if it's healthy, to be honest with you. So we want them to come in and epoxy that floor like they did in the new addition. So that stuff, it won't come up, it won't be anything. It'll make the equipment roll around in there a lot better. It'll save on wear and tear on staff's joints, joints as well. So that was the purpose behind that one. And then the next one, come on, was impact rated windows on the service counter. We understand, we put that in, they let us know that that was part of the other one. They didn't tell us that originally, but they're saying that is part of the last request for the impact rated windows. So that is, now here were some things, any questions on any of those? Yes, sir.
Well, no, it seems like when the facilities committee met, we recommended ballistic resistant windows.
That's what we're talking about.
Impact rated is different.
Well, we're saying, when we talk to them, that's the terminology we use, ballistic resistant.
So what are they gonna put in? They gonna put impact
Oh, they're gonna put
rated, or they
ballistic.
gonna put ballistic resistant?
We're asking for ballistic resistant.
Okay.
We're asking for ballistic resistant. What I'm saying, what they're telling us, I forgot what her title is, Carolyn Wallace, she is saying that the request that we have already in place for 2025, that is included in those, in that same request. So this one, when we put it in, this is how they answered us already today. They haven't really given us answers on the other ones at all. All we had to do at that point was just give them what we're looking. They're gonna look it over. They're gonna flesh out what the cost could possibly be and then get that back to us. And they're gonna have a meeting with us to discuss where we go from there with all of these. Yes,
So you're
ma'am.
saying the Windows request carried over from previously?
No. What they're saying, what they're telling us is the request that we had for 25, when we asked it for ballistic resistant
Right.
windows, that this is included in that already. The counter is included in that.
Yes, but I know so ever since I've been on the board, we've been talking about this.
Right.
And you've put it in. So you're saying it's a separate request, but they say this was included, although you didn't realize it.
Right.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
So Wendell, we're halfway through the year, so where do these projects really stand in priority with the county?
They haven't given us any information on that. We're required, it's just like the budget, you have to do it ahead of time. Even though they're still working on stuff from the past, they haven't given us any information in reference to those that y'all were concerned about, the generator, the impact-resistant windows, and I think there was something else, I can't remember off the top of my head. And they haven't given us any more information about that. Me and Marie, we're gonna go back to them in January, once everything quieted down, to say, hey, where are we with all of these things?
So are the primary contacts in facilities or engineering?
It's facilities and engineering. There's a Frank Murillo, Mark Sutton, and I forget who the other individual is, but Carolyn Wallace is the capital improvement projects manager. So when everything is quieted down, we're going to call her and say, hey, what's going on with the other one? What's going on with 25's request?
You know, if you need support from the finance committee, please let me know.
Well, to be honest with you, I think any of the board members that would want to approach them after we get the information back and give it to you, I think that would be, I think in the scheme of getting things done beyond staff, that's where y'all would really make an impact. So once we get that, once we get their answers back, you know, we will give you that information, and then you can figure out how y'all want to approach it from that point on. I think that was part, like, with facilities and finance.
It just seems a low probability of getting these projects accomplished if we're already well into the year and they haven't even given you a schedule or any kind of feedback on when it's gonna be accomplished.
Okay.
I hope I'm not smiling in the camera.
Beverly?
Yes, Dora?
If my memory serves me, the Facilities Committee also recommended ballistic resistant windows for the offices that the executive director and the deputy director are housed in.
Right.
Is that not correct?
Yeah, that is part of 25.
Okay, and I think you need to probably clarify the language if there is a difference between the impact rated windows and the ballistic resistant windows.
We'll clarify that.
Use
That was,
right
that,
language.
to be honest with you, that was when me and Marie were doing it, because they sent us an email like on the 13th and say, hey, y'all have to have this in by the 15th. And me and Marie were like, oh, okay. So we sat down and brainstormed at that point, and I think we just termed it, instead of putting it in the exact same terminology from before, we termed it at that. So that's not, the understanding for them is ballistic resistant, because ballistic resistant is in the 25 terminology. And they're saying that this is already part of that part of that project, so.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Wendell, I just want to say one quick thing on that. Whenever you get that information, you and Maureen, as soon as you get it, let our chair person know, Mr. Backer. And then, Mr. Backer, you can then schedule a meeting with them, so that way you can have some reinforcement to let them know how concerned we are as a board that we need to get these things done, the ballistic windows at the counter and also in the two offices. So
Madam
we
Chair,
can
that
have
would
the
also be
switch
Mr. Ford with
Yeah,
facilities.
and Mr. Ford to
Facilities Committee.
facilities, yeah, I'm saying everybody who can go needs to be there, so they will know.
Thank you, Ms.
We will definitely get with them, get a timeline from where they are right now, because y'all have approached them before, and we haven't heard anything. We just heard, give us your list for next year. Yes, sir.
if they are still, accepting requests, can you, take a second review of the, DHS report that was done a couple of years ago to make sure that all those recommendations are included in the submission to the county?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, all right.
Okay, those were the requests. There were some other requests that Marie and I brought to their attention that aren't necessarily in our purview as a capital improvement. But we thought that they were important enough for them to be addressed or to address them one way or another. The parking area of the Bluffton Recreation Center is not amenable to major traffic due to it not being paved. As we use this facility for early voting and as a precinct during elections, we would like to have that addressed as to what improvements can be made. During inclement weather, there are major issues for voters and driving and parking in this area. Here's the response that we got. Mr. Murillo with engineering or what said that we plan on paving all the parking areas around the Bluffton Rec Department.
Great, thank you.
So the question about pushing those carts and everything, yes, sir.
That sounds good, but they give you a completion date.
Oh, no, they never do that.
That was my question.
So, one of the things we discussed standing outside the building after the election day, the lighting is almost non-existent
At night.
at night. That's a safety concern as well for folks
Yeah, at the drop-off at night.
bringing the equipment back.
But not only that, parking is too at night,
And-
at the drop-off. There's,
Parking as well.
yes,
We need to figure out, and Mr. Ford, I don't know if this belongs to you or Wendell, it belongs to you, but somehow we need to look at how do we reorganize that so at the close of the day, when people are bringing things in. I mean, there were probably 10 or 15 cones set out that created a greater hazard for people trying to come in. But we just need to look at that opportunity as well.
Question, and I'm not out there that night. I know the two drivers that are out there and the staff, not the staff, but the workers that we do have out there. Is, when you talk about the cones, and I'm asking because I wasn't out there. I wish I could be out there. I want to one day be able to try to be out there when that happens, but I can't get a chance to get out there. But is it because the clerks are trying to get in there any kind of way and get their stuff out, or is it just, it's just not?
It's too dark.
It's just too dark. It's the darkness that causes a problem for it.
Well, I don't know that I could tell you that there was a bona fide plan or it was random. If things were just set out. It didn't appear like there was any plan to what we were doing.
Okay.
Wendell, I can address that.
Okay.
It's not enough parking in the back.
In the back.
Okay, because you got all these precincts coming in. And if you have 7 cars lined up and some of them have so much equipment that they have to return, the truck is back there, the workers are there, and you have someone checking off. There is no way for them to even get all of these equipment out of their cars for the people to check it off. They can't check them off and then put it on the truck because they're trying to get that whole area. For instance, Sun City. Okay, that was very big. And I stayed there at this election to try to help out because there was no way, and you could have an accident back there because it's just not enough parking, period. And it is dark. And when they get in there, it's hard to get out because it's only one way in and one way out. So they do need to, someone mentioned about moving the drop-off site up front when they pave it. That way you got lots of space up front where there is,
And the back.
yeah, better lighting and everything there. You have the lighting there from the tennis court plus all of the other lighting would be a better drop-off up front. And that would keep folks from driving past the building and got to go all the way down and come into that little one dirt road and they go all the way around the back of the building in order to drop off.
Right.
So that will be something we need to look at.
Okay, that's good.
Using that as the drop-off.
So I have a suggestion, Madam Chair. In the interest of continuing our continuous improvement program, I was going to mention this during the discussion about the next board meeting, but I'll mention it now. I suggest that we plan a hot wash workshop in January where all the board members list issues, including facilities-related issues. And those issues which are solely facility-related, I think should be discussed by the Facilities Committee, and then a meeting planned with the county administrator. If we should assume that we don't know for sure that early voting at these numbers, 60%, will be the new normal. But if we make that assumption for facility planning purposes, I think it would be a constructive discussion with the administrator, talk about specifics and details as needed at that meeting, and then move forward for 2025.
Okay, that sounds good. As time is almost upon us.
Okay.
Now, just point of clarification, is the Bluffton Rec Center a county facility or a
Yes.
town of Hilton Head facility?
No, it's a county facility. It's a county facility, and that, it comes under recreation with Mr. Brown, Mr. Eric Brown. And, you know, we were gonna talk with him, ask him some questions too, because he might be able to, some of this might be easily taken care of. You know, I don't know. We haven't had the question asked yet, so it may be something, he said, you know, we were looking at doing this already, whatever. So that's just a couple of questions we need to ask him or discuss with him as well.
Okay.
Okay, next, another thing that was brought to our, that we thought that needed to be brought to attention. The entrance to the Bluffton Rec Center has a threshold that would not be considered ADA. And this is me, Marie, Roz, Jean, all of us who have looked at this. There's a lip on the very front when you come up the ramp and you come up to the door, and there's a lip at the door. And we personally feel that it is not ADA compliant. The regulations say if it's this, it's not ADA compliant. As we use this facility for early voting as a precinct during elections, we would like to have that addressed as to what improvements can be made. This is the response that we got back. Mr. Sutton said that there is a door that is ADA compliant, and Mr. Murillo said that it's probably the rear door. He also mentioned that even after paving the parking lot, it's probably still more feasible to have that those who need ADA accessibility use the rear door rather than crossing the lawn to the front access door. If there are variables that we are not aware of, please let us know. I'll be honest with you, we discussed it with Mr. Sutton, and we said, sir, if you can just put a lip or a ramp, not a ramp, but like a, you know, just something to level or to what do you call it?
Transition?
A wedge type thing to get it on both sides of it for a wheelchair to come across. That handles the issue. But there's been an insistence that there's nothing wrong with the door. So that's just something that we gonna have to come back to them and say, hey, there is something, we don't, like, I wouldn't want it, somebody can trip just walking.
But that issue doesn't just apply to voting. That applies.
Usage of that building.
To the use of the building.
Right, and that's another question that we can go to Mr. Brown with, you know, because it's his building. So that's just another question we're gonna ask him. It was something that we addressed while we were putting in our CIPs, and that's what we got back. Okay, and the next one was our parking. Another affected area was the parking around our building. We saw, Mr. Swicky could attest to that, and he just, actually he already did. So, you know, we're just putting the bug in their ear. Hey, you might want to look at trying to purchase that property so we can do better around there. Because it is becoming a place of a lot of parking because of what's going on with the increase in voters. So we put that out there. We have not gotten a response from that yet, and we didn't really expect one, to be honest with you. Okay? Any questions about that?
The other thing that I would add too, if that parking lot ever gets wet,
Yeah, bogged down and stuff.
it's even worse.
Yeah.
Well, it is.
And part of the time, honestly, we have actually, and that back, you know, on the other side of those trees back there, that doesn't belong to the county at all. That's actually that company over there, or one of those companies, and we've been using it. Nobody's fussed at us. They allowed us to come over there and use it because Marie's built a good relationship. But, you know, we can't just depend on that being the true all the time.
How far does the county property go? Does it go as far as the trees, or is it
I
less?
can't remember. Does it? I think we only go halfway up to the trees. Technically. We can get that clarified, but I think that we only go halfway up to the trees.
So,
Yeah.
does the county own enough of the property to have a second row of parking? You park, at the entrance, and I mean, when I come there and I think, there's always a huge line of people who park behind, close to the trees. Are we actually parking on county property where that at some point could be paved and made a bigger parking lot, or is that
That's
not
what
property?
I think we only have half of that.
So
Not
we-
all the way up to the trees, actually.
So
No,
we
we do
really
not.
don't have enough property to have.
Right, that's why
on
this-
our land, a second row of parking.
Yeah. Excuse me, Wendell, because of time.
Right.
Can we have that to go on hot wash facilities? Because it's gonna be a lot that we're gonna need to address when it comes to, these facilities. And right about now, we
Right.
wouldn't be able to even do that.
Right. These were just things we wanted you to
Yeah.
know about in addition to what we put in for requests. So it wasn't really to be a deep, dark discussion about it, but just to let you know that these were on the plate for them to look at for us.
Okay.
Okay? Next thing I want to talk about real quickly is SCARE. It's scheduled for the 27th of January through February the 1st at the Hilton Myrtle Beach Resort. It's a lot better situation than we were in last year. We would like everyone to go. There's a new, what you would call it, Bruce? No, not the venue. The mindset of the SCARE classes is changed based on the new president. He believes in a lot of professional development because everything has usually been that PowerPoint, somebody talking to you thing. We have joined in with the Raleigh Institute out of Furman, and there are some certification and CEUs you can be gained by coming and getting some certifications from going to some of the classes. They have a special track for board members. So we would like everybody, if it's all possible, to please go to this. The office pays for everything. The staff is very excited about SCARE this year, and we hope that you guys can get just as excited and show up. If you are interested, you can free that time up. Please let Chris know as soon as possible so we can get the hotels and all that kind of stuff done. Everybody will be in the same building. The only reason you wouldn't, they have a few condos, he said, if anybody's interested in those, but everything else is in the same building, in the same area. Very, very nice venue. So please, if you can get away, please sign up to come to that. I think Chris gave you all a tentative schedule too. You have that in your packet?
She sent it by email.
Oh,
Yes,
okay.
We have it.
Okay, and that's it. If anybody has any other questions? Yes, sir.
Are there any elections scheduled in the first half of 2025?
No,
Okay. So the question is.
thankfully.
What will be your priorities during the first 6 months of 2025?
Right now, what they're, and me and Marie haven't sat down and really discussed the specifics. I know that we're looking at facilities. That's gonna be a big thing. I think more of a push on the CIPs. We're also gonna be looking at procedures that we already have in place that might need to be improved upon. As far as that's a big what you talked about with Bluffton. That's something that we really need to look at. I don't know how Hilton Heads was. So we're looking at procedures on closing on election night, stuff like that. Also, probably a major reorganization of the warehouse to have a better flow back there and everything. So there are a couple of things that and like I said already too, we're also going to start the surveys on all of our locations. Also we're not going to stop looking for locations, and we're also going to put a new focus on some more intensive training, hands-on training for poll workers, more hands-on training for poll workers.
Wendell, I have a question for you.
Yes, ma'am.
At the last meeting we attended, they said that they were gonna have this class for certification of lead clerks, and that the director would be contacting those clerks that would fit in that category, and they would have to attend class, et cetera, among other things.
They came out with that. They did not have it together. They did not have it fully fleshed out. They pushed our people to the last minute, and then they said, "Oh, we're going to cancel it prior to." And then about 2 weeks before the election, they wanted them to come up 2 weeks before the election, and we weren't. Our people had already been signed up to go, and then they said, "Well, we canceling the class, this early class. We're going to do it this next whatever." And our people say, "I can't go it now. I can't do it now." There was this back and forth, and we for the state being the entity that they are, we thought they would have it more together. And the thing about it was, Gene and I and Marie all felt the same. It's like, we don't think that there is anything they could teach our clerks better than we do it. As far as, we have all of the same, we do hands-on with our clerks. We have their hands-on, explaining situations to them. You tell us what happens when this occurs, that kind of thing. And we didn't feel that they can do it better than we could anyway. We did have people signed up to go. We were going to give them a chance. But then they canceled the classes out, and then they wanted to have a class like 2 weeks before the election, and we said no. Because we were in the middle of early voting at that point. And some of those clerks, those two people were working early voting, actually. So it was just something that they didn't put together. They didn't do a good job of that at all.
They weren't prepared to roll out their pilot.
They weren't.
program. They should have just waited until 2025. Now, do I think that it could be a good program? Sure. And the major appeal to it is that those clerks forever and ever will get paid extra for the hours that they work, but they just weren't ready for it. And we didn't have any clerks that last minute could drop everything, because a lot of them have day jobs or other responsibilities within their communities. So we're hoping in 2025, when they roll out regular classes, that we can get some of our people in them.
Okay. All right.
Another question or a follow-up request, and it was related to my question about priorities for first half of '25. In August, at the August board meeting, we tabled the discussion of goals and objectives for financial year 2025. And at that time, Director Smalls mentioned that she already had a completed goals and objectives document that she would share with us. I haven't received that yet, so my request is, would you please forward that to the board?
Okay, I'll get with her, and we'll get that together and get it out to you.
Thank you.
Okay.
One last thing
Yeah.
that I think, and I think y'all were interested in this, and we were tabling it to a board meeting. And just to let you know, it doesn't need to go any further. There was an interest in the one individual that we thought was voting twice. We clarified that with the clerk. Specifically, it was not a salacious incident. He really thought that he was supposed to come back and vote because he voted under his son's name or whatever. He was not trying to vote twice. The clerk was very clear about that. It was not a thing of him doing something wrong or illegal. She did stop it before it did happen, so that was taken care of. We did have 4 people who took pictures of their ballots, 3 of them during early voting and 1 on election day. There was one at all 3 locations for 3, not the Beaufort site, but all the other 3 early voting sites, and 1 on Defusky Island. All those names and their information were sent to the SEC, who is forwarding it to SLED, and they will be taken care of. We don't know what they're going to do, but we sent it just like we were supposed to. We queried them on what we're supposed to do, and we gave them everything that they needed to get those checked into. So that as far as those kinds of incidents and everything involved with the election, all of that has been cleared and taken care of.
Okay. All right. Now we're down to closing comments. I'm going to make a quick comment about our next board meeting on January 22nd. And then we also have SCARE on the 27th. So I'm going to be clear. I'm not saying that, I'm saying we need to cancel this meeting, but I need to find out what is your feeling? Do you want to do the January 22nd meeting and not wait until February based on the scare meeting 5 days later? I'm just asking for opinion, so I'm not saying cancel it, okay? Go ahead.
Yeah, Madam Chair, my recommendation is that we spend time together in January doing a hot wash workshop.
Okay.
Perhaps in lieu of this board meeting
Okay,
and earlier than the 22nd. So
Okay.
that we can get the issues on the table for this facilities committee and the other committees to work on in more detail.
can I get a second on that as a motion?
I second.
Okay, all right, so board, Beverly?
I so move.
Okay, so all in favor of a hot wash meeting on the 22nd?
Well, or before.
Before?
Yeah.
Okay, or before. Matt, you gonna let us know when? So that way we'll all be on the same page and time.
Well,
We got a schedule?
we could agree on a date now.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, yeah. So we will, so we can put it
We
on.
don't have,
You sent out 3 dates and let us just pick from the 3.
yeah, Ms. Dorr had a suggestion. I'll send out 3 dates
Okay.
and then we'll pick
Okay.
from one of them.
All
But it'll
right.
probably be the week of the 13th.
Okay, all right.
Sounds good.
Okay? So we will meet the week of the 13th. Matt will send out the information for us, the time, and we'll meet at
John
the
Galt.
John Galt Road, okay? All right, I've already made, oh, yes, go ahead.
One other thing I have to think of, you know, next year you guys start your new terms,
There will
Yeah.
be turns?
your
Terms.
elections.
Oh, terms.
For board, chair, board,
Yeah,
vice
I know.
chair, board
Mhm.
secretary.
It's usually
So
done
that
in
line also,
January.
Yeah,
If you wanna do that.
In
now,
January?
or-
can we do it?
We could do that in January.
Yeah,
Can we do that at a hot wash
we
meeting?
can be, yeah, why not?
I don't see why not, yeah. We could
Yeah,
have the
we
hot
can do it
wash
at the hot
followed
wash.
by a board meeting, a brief board meeting.
Okay,
Is that possible?
that's good.
But do we have to announce the board meeting?
Sure.
Oh, we can't.
Oh, yeah,
we
have to.
definitely
Okay, yeah, we'll have to,
You have to announce the hot wash.
yeah.
We'll have plenty of
Yeah,
time to do
okay.
that.
Okay, okay. Thank you, Christine. Thank you so much. Okay, and my comment is that, again, we welcome our new board member. He's not really new. He's been working for a while, but we still welcome him on the board. And I want to thank all of our board members for a job well done this year, for all of your hard work, your input, your due diligence, and making sure that Beaufort County stands out. And we continue to work together as a team and support one another. That's the main objective, is that we have to support one another. I'm going to do better,
Doing
or
good.
whatever,
Doing
you
good.
know? Yeah, but I'm going to. There's always room for improvement. That's how I feel about myself. Announcements? Anybody have any announcements? Anybody having an anniversary coming up before the new year? A wedding anniversary, a birthday?
Well, one thing, and I don't know, I asked you your prayers for Vernon's wife. She is still going through some medical issues, and he's been spending a lot of time at home, taking care of the boys and everything, so please keep them lifted up. He's handling it very well, but please, think about them this holiday season and what they're going through, so keep that in mind, please.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you. Anybody else before we adjourn? Anyone else? Matt said that he enjoyed his vacation. He had me over here just drooling. 9 days. I saw him. I told him I saw him on that beautiful luxury ship out there. So he's well rested and ready to work. You can tell. He's well rested. Yeah, he have no excuse. Okay, anybody else before I ask for an adjournment?
Move that we adjourn.
All right.
Second.
It's been properly moved and second that we adjourn this meeting for this year, 2024, December the 9th at 2:08 p.m. Everyone have a happy holiday and be safe.